Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us on time. We'll just give it another minute or so to let more people join before starting. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you everyone for joining us this morning. We'll start today's session with a recitation of the Holy Quran by Qari Ishaq Jaffer.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أياما معدودات فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له وأن تصوموا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعان فليستجيبوا لي وليؤمنوا بي لعلهم يرشدون صدق الله العظيم.
Thank you so much for that beautiful recitation. We'll now have Hassan Judy, Deputy Secretary General of the MCB, to introduce.
Thank you very much, Zainab. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you all, brothers and sisters, for joining this Sunday morning, and also for those beyond who'll be listening to this, a recording of this call later on YouTube afterwards during the next couple of days as well. We are, as you all know, on the cusp of the beginning of the month of Ramadan, the month which, in some narrations of our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he's narrated to have said that it is the best of months. Its days are the best of days. Its nights are amongst the best of nights. Its hours are the best of hours. And of course, given the challenges with the coronavirus restrictions, it's perhaps going to be, not only for us as Muslim communities here in Britain, but across the world, one of the most unique months of Ramadan that we have perhaps ever lived in our lifetimes. I was recalling earlier this week, trying to reflect on the month of Ramadan last year, just about 11 months ago. And I always recall how in the first 2 or 3 days, perhaps it's often the most challenging, of course, because it takes a while for our bodies to get used to new sleeping patterns, new eating patterns, and our new lives, or what's going to be ready for the remainder of that month. So it's challenging for the first few days, but then somehow, and subhanAllah, by the grace of God, our bodies have this, as human beings, this amazing ability to adapt. And such that often I'm reminded when it's the last, day 27, 28, 29 of Ramadan, and after Eid, suddenly you go back to normal and you go back to having breakfast normally again, and quote unquote a normal routine. Suddenly you think to yourself, wow, how did I get through that? Because suddenly now the world seems so different. And of course, as the Quran and the Hadith tell us, the purpose of Ramadan is to help us in increasing our taqwa and to help us to become better and stronger people. And just reflecting on that and reflecting on this coronavirus pandemic restrictions, I think, of course, we have now been into this for now 5-6 weeks. A huge amount has happened in the last 5 to 6 weeks. We have had to adapt, not only as human beings, just like in those first couple of days of the month of Ramadan, but also on our institution levels, whether it's our charities, whether it's our mosques, whether it's our other Muslim institutions, and our communities overall have had to rapidly adapt and to find a new equilibrium, just as how we find a new equilibrium in the month of Ramadan. Just a reflection to share, and I think our speakers today will be sharing from their own points of view how we can all continue to find what that equilibrium looks like in the next couple of weeks whilst this lockdown is still in place, and to ensure that ourselves as individuals and our overall Muslim communities and institutions that we may volunteer for or work for can make the best of this holy month. So I'm very much looking forward to the speeches. I hope they are useful, and I'll hand back over to Zainab.
Thank you so much, Hassan. And as you mentioned, we have a super packed schedule this morning, so we'll get started right away. Just a reminder to all attendees on the call, this is being recorded and will be uploaded onto YouTube shortly after the session. So please feel free to share a recording of this afterwards with your contacts. Each of our panelists will be taking questions and will be providing answers. You can submit any questions via the chat facility on Zoom, and then I'll be able to ask our panelists the questions directly. We'll start now with an update on Umrah and Ramadan by Rashid Moghradia, CEO of the Council of British Hajjis.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Okay, just getting the slides ready. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay. think we should be able to see something now.
Great.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you to MCB for giving us this opportunity to brief you all. And I know we're looking ahead to the month of Ramadan in very unprecedented and challenging times, but inshallah, Allah makes it easy for us. Earlier this week, we launched the Hajj Awareness Campaign 2020. There are many elements to it, but today I'm going to focus really on giving you an update on Ramadan and Umrah. And inshallah, next week we'll cover Hajj for those who are looking to book for Hajj or maybe already booked as well, and what you should be doing next. So on the 27th of February, the Ministry of Hajj announced a temporary suspension of Umrah over fears over the coronavirus spreading. We know now that this will now stay in place until they decide when things are safe to remove that restriction. So as it stands, you could conclude that Umrah for this season is pretty much finished. Our advice now is that for anybody who's trying to consider booking an Umrah package, not to do so and to wait for official instructions from the Saudi authorities. For those that are already booked and maybe were looking to travel over Ramadan, if you had booked a flight with either accommodation, transfers or visa services, you fall into the Package Travel Regulations 2018. But that in essence means that any tour operator who would have supplied you with a package who can no longer take you there due to these restrictions will now have to offer you a refund within 14 days. We know that there's issues amongst tour operators at the moment, getting refunds back from hotels and airlines as well. But as it stands, we advise you to work with them to try and get your money back. There are delays in that process. However, if you are finding it difficult, you can always contact our offices and we'll be able to guide you further. The Ministry of Hajj have actually made refunds to all the Umrah agencies in Saudi Arabia. Subsequently, they'll be refunding the UK companies as well. At the time of booking, you should have been issued a national certificate. This gives you the financial protection in case the company goes bust. If you haven't, again, do contact us and we'll give you further advice. It's always a good idea that when you are booking flights and accommodation or a package, always book with an ATOL holder who is also licensed by the Ministry of Hajj. We're finding a lot of cases at the moment where people have gone online and either booked flights themselves or accommodations themselves or booked through a sub-agent, in which case they're not really protected financially and having difficulties getting refunds. As it stands, we always advise you to follow the Foreign and Commonwealth Office's travel advice. As of today, the FCO is advising against all but essential travel, international travel that is. And it's always a good idea for you to check the travel advice before booking and before traveling as well. We know that people are trying to get back to the UK. And I think the FCO are expediting their efforts to do that. If you need further help or support, if you think you're a victim of potential travel fraud or need further help or advice, we've got a series of links here to reporting to action fraud, to local trading standards, where to check for your ATOL licensees. And if you need further advice, we've got various travel articles now online on our website. You can go at cbhuk.org. If you have got individual case questions, you can email them across. We're also on social media. If you tag us at CBHUK using the hashtag HajjiUK, we'll try and respond to you there as well. Most of the common questions have already been answered, so do check our FAQs and articles online. But if you do need anything specific, do contact us. We are a registered charity. We've been operating since 2006. We can only do that with the support of your du'as and your donations. And as the month of giving, as the month of Ramadan approaches, we do urge you to donate what you can. We are charities to provide a service, but alhamdulillah, we are continuing and we wish to continue with your help and support. Finally, I wish you all Ramadan Kareem. May Allah accept all our efforts and all our good deeds. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you so much, Brother Rashid. And I don't believe we have any questions for you, as you were very extensive. So unless anyone has any questions, we'll move on to the National Huffadh Association, who will be speaking to us about Taraweeh at home. And I'd like to introduce Qari Ishaq Jasad.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone. I pray you're all well. Today's presentation is going to be basically we've launched a very excited initiative. It's called Taraweeh at Home. As you can see from the URL, the website is already live. So taraweehathome.com. And alhamdulillah, the main purpose of this project is we've been receiving and we've been inundated with extensive queries regarding Taraweeh, etc. Our work primarily was focused on providing Taraweeh placements in the UK and abroad. And alhamdulillah, we've managed to help over 500 Huffadhs over the years. This year, we've had to postpone the Taraweeh placements as we released a press release a few months ago. And we've basically created this initiative. This whole purpose is to make the Taraweeh experience fun, engaging, and interactive for the whole family. Over the years, what we have seen is, many of the times the men folk would go to the mosque. Some mosques do provide facilities for women, and many times the children do often feel left out. Children ask questions with regards to Taraweeh. The education is quite minimal in terms of what is the importance of Taraweeh and how is it relevant to children. So we've kind of made this toolkit focused on that, inshallah. So simply, this is the website, and you can simply download the toolkit from here. We are going to be adding more features to the website as and when we collect the resources, but this is just basically a website use so people can visit and download the toolkit. The toolkit will go live, inshallah, in a few days. And I just want to run through it briefly. So this is the front cover of it. The contents page, I'm going to briefly go through most of them. So we have Taraweeh during the era of the Prophet. So again, it's just basically some really interesting stories regarding Taraweeh, the history of it, how the Sahaba would pray Taraweeh. Then secondly, we have Taraweeh at home, Islamic guidance. So we have some interesting questions that are answered. Is it obligatory to complete the Quran? Leading Taraweeh while reciting from the Mus'haf. And we've also got some guidance from the Jamiatul Ulama South Africa, how to read Taraweeh under lockdown. Very simple steps on how to perform Taraweeh. Moving on with the toolkit, we also have top 10 Taraweeh tips. So in terms of Taraweeh, we have a selection of 10 tips. This is for anyone who's leading the Taraweeh. We've collated together as on behalf of National Huffadh Association. So just as kind of tips to engage the Huffadhs, and really and truly, I just want to make an important note here is that you don't have to be a Hafiz to lead the Taraweeh prayers. And essentially, the Quran does not have to be completed. It was a Sunnah. It is not obligatory. It is recommended to do so, but at the same time, this is probably an opportunity for family members to connect and to obviously connect more closer with the Quran as well. And then we have some advice from Bima, a medical perspective on Qiyam, the night prayer, some health tips. Mashallah, they've contributed towards this toolkit. Really good content, mashallah, on Taraweeh. Some data regarding health, the current situation, where we're in the second peak, etc. And just really some really important tips from a health perspective. Then we also have 5 steps to memorize the Quran. So we have different types of advice in terms of memorizing the Quran. I'll just bring that up shortly. Just bear with me a moment. Yeah, so over here we have Madrasa Azhar, for example. They have 4 steps on how to learn Quran. This is basically a really clever guide. Anyone that wants to memorize the Quran, a very simple 5, 3, and some of them are like 8 steps. Very easy to digest, and really just to help anyone who wants to memorize the Quran. That's done by Madrasa Azhar. So there's about 4 or 5 quick tips for that. Then we have some very interesting games. This is done by Quran Plan. So this is called the Quran Circle. We've actually launched a live recitation on Quran Plan Instagram. So this is basically a game they've created for Ramadan. And essentially what it is basically recommended age is 5+, 2 to 6 players, helps choose and revise the surahs in Juz Amma. And it's just really an opportunity, again, as a family to spend some time together. It's really interactive, as you can see. There's cards involved as well, which you can print out and use as cards, different cards representing the different surahs from Juz Amma. And again, really interactive. You've also got a surah hunt challenge, which mashallah is another game. So divide into 2 teams, give each team a card and use the clues and the card on the card to find the surah names. Again, another interactive tool to help people to connect with the Quran. Then moving on with the contents, we also have a Ramadan superhero competition, which has been initiated by the Amal organization. So they're launching a very special Adventures of Adam and Anisa. I think a lot of people have heard about the book as well. So again, a Ramadan superhero training camp. They have lots of character building activities. And, you know, this is obviously a prize category, which they've announced in Ramadan as well. So a very exciting initiative from Amal as well. And then also we have We Love Salah Kids Fun Book. This is from An-Nasiha, and the purpose of this is really kids under the age of 5. You know, this is a workbook. You can color. Salah is the second pillar of Islam. Salah was made for during the Mi'raj. You know, it's very, very interactive for children. It makes them engaged. So ideally, when you're praying the Taraweeh prayers, you know, the younger children can get on with these types of activities. And again, it's making them more aware about Salah. Taraweeh is obviously a Salah, so making them more aware of the Taraweeh process as well, and Salah. And another very exciting resource we have, which was made by the National Huffadh, is 30 Quranic du'as. So these were launched last Ramadan, and basically these are 30 handpicked Quranic du'as, and we kind of have a challenge where we enable everyone to memorize these du'as. These were given out last year. We put it all into this PDF. And alhamdulillah, you know, many people enjoyed the very attractive design. And also, as you can see, the text is easy to read in English and Arabic. It's also got the verse as well, so if you want to reference from the Quran, you can do so. And these are 30 du'as which you can just really and truly, you can learn one new du'a every day. The last and final part of the toolkit, this was made by Ustad Asifuddin, which is called Ajza al-Quran. This is a very interesting resource. Basically, it's divided into each juz, and basically it tells you the types of stories, as you can see in illustration, very, very summarized and very intricate in terms of the content. So it sort of takes you through every kind of juz. So which surahs are involved in the second, you can see here Baqarah, Ali Imran, the key topics that are mentioned, and you've also got a note section. So essentially you could print this out or have it on your laptop, and you can actually type away and you can actually do some reading. This is more focused on people that want to just connect more with regards to learning more about the Quran. So just to summarize, this is a Taraweeh toolkit which we'll be launching in a few days, inshallah. It's available from taraweehathome.com. We will be making we will be adding actually some more resources, and we'd just like to thank MCB once again for giving us this platform. We are an affiliate of the MCB as well, and we do look forward to working with you all. And ideally, we just want to be your first point of contact. Any queries regarding Taraweeh, you know, any sort of questions you have, inshallah. And hopefully, this toolkit will engage more families with the Quran and Taraweeh as well, inshallah. And lastly, we just wish you all a blessed Ramadan. May Allah accept our Ramadan and enable us to reach Ramadan, and may Allah accept all our worship during this month. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, Qari Ishaq. You've pointed to a number of brilliant resources that will be showcasing on our website and also be sending out via WhatsApp. All resources that are being discussed today and more information both about Ramadan and about the coronavirus are available on the MCB's website, which is www.mcb.org. mcb.org.uk/coronavirus. And we have a separate page for Ramadan as well. And there are a number of resources, both that are being discussed today and in previous weeks, that should help. We've also got a scholar on the call joining us today, Aalima, Masuma, Jaffer. And so I'm aware that there are some questions that have been submitted that will direct to our scholar later on in today's session. If I could now introduce Brother Ayub Sidat of the Islamic Network, who'll be speaking to us today about taking mosques digital.
Jazakallah khair. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala amma ba'd. Good morning, everyone. I pray everyone is having a fantastic Sunday morning. And I'd like to thank all of you for giving me this moment to share with you just a little bit about why it's important to take mosque digital and the practical steps that can be done to take your mosque digital between now and Ramadan, which is only a few days away. And of course, thanks to the MCB, to Hassan and to Zainab for facilitating this morning's call, inshallah. So the question is, why take mosques digital? And as you all know, we're in an unprecedented time where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has closed the doors of the mosques, which has opened up a whole new avenue for us as community leaders, as imams, as scholars, as heads of organizations, and even as just, musallis or general Muslims in the community. Allah's opened up an opportunity for us to engage with our mosque in a way that we probably haven't done before. And the reason why we've developed this strategy and this project that's here, and if you have a look in your chat box, you'll see a link to it straight away. So as I'm going through it, I encourage you to download it right now, have it open, and then you can see what I'm seeing, and I can elaborate on any points that you find. But the reason this is important is that for the majority of Muslims, myself included, Ramadan is a time where we renew our iman, where we build our faith back, where we build reserves that last us from now until next Ramadan. And in this unique situation, this unique pandemic that we're facing, the doors of the masjid are closed. Muslims are cut off from the mosque at this critical time. So for us, it was critically important. It was so important to be able to create a platform for mosques to reach out to their local communities and engage with the local communities in a way perhaps that they've not done before, alhamdulillah. And whilst this is a call facilitated by the MCB, Muslim Council of Britain, we have mosques and organizations from around the world taking part in this project. So we have obviously the MCB here, we have the Muslim Council of Wales, and you can see a number of different organizations. There were too many for me to put on the screen in front of you. And the reason why I wanted to show you just some of the organizations that are part of this project is not so you say, mashallah, what a great project. But I want you to get a scale and understand that this project is for all mosques and organizations, regardless of your size, regardless of your capabilities, regardless of your facilities. The guide that we've put together, that I'll go through in a minute, is laid out in a simple and easy to follow way that any organization, whether you are a small, semi-detached house converted into a masjid, or you're a, fully funded, purpose-built facility, this guide can help you to, to go digital, to connect with your community, to educate and empower them, to fundraise from them, which is obviously a critically important thing for the continuity, for the ongoing survival of many of our organizations. And I wanted to share from just one of these organizations based here in London, Nur al-Islam. The testimony was there in front of you. For them, as an organization, when everything happened, as it says, they were feeling lost. They didn't know which way to turn. And I'm sure that this is the case for so many organizations out there, so many mosques, so many imams. In fact, I got a message this morning from someone saying that, you know, how can, you know, my mum wants to do something, what can they do? And alhamdulillah, that's one of the reasons why we put this guide together. So for them, I'm sure their sentiment that you can read in front of you is the same as what you're feeling a little bit lost. You know, we don't know where to go. There's so many things that you could do. Do I go on this platform or that platform, etc.? And alhamdulillah, the guide is, you know, that you can download a copy of, will take you through all of these steps. So with Ramadan coming, everyone is busy preparing for their iftars. There's 4 key ingredients for you to have a fantastic platform of engagement with your local community, inshallah. So these ingredients are, number 1, keeping your community informed. And I'm going to go through these in detail. So you don't need to, there's no need for you to take notes or anything. All of the information and more that I'm presenting here is in the guide. And what I've done is I've just extracted a few highlights from the guide for you to benefit from, inshallah. So number 1, keeping the community informed. Number 2, moving your essential services online. Number 3, online fundraising tools. And number 4, inspiring and educating your community. And the reason why we focused on these 4 areas is that if you can get the foundation for going digital in place for just these 4 areas, everything else that happens on top of it will be a bonus, inshallah. Everything else that happens on top of it will be extra engagement and extra success for you in the community. But before I go into these in just a little bit more detail, the other reason why I showed some of the organizations that are already part of this project, and alhamdulillah, we have over 200 mosques, community leaders, imams involved in this project from around the world, is that it doesn't matter who you are or how big you are or what resources you have. There is something that you can do to get online and connect with your community today, inshallah. So number 1, I've only got number 1 is communication, you know, keeping your community informed. And in the guide, you'll see we've broken down, there are so many platforms that you could use. Right now, we're using Zoom. All of us have WhatsApp or Facebook or Instagram or Telegram or TikTok or Snapchat. There are so many platforms. And what's more important than the platform is the strategy behind it. So in the guide, we outlined 3 strategies for you to communicate effectively with your community. Number 1 is instant communication through Telegram, not through WhatsApp. And we've got a whole video on why Telegram and not WhatsApp. 2, community education using a platform like WebEx or like what we're on right now, Zoom. And doing some public reminders on a platform like Facebook. And in the Q&A section, I know I'm going to get a lot of questions about this, so I'll leave that for now. But there's more information in the guide. Number 2 is moving your essential services online. Once you have the structure of being able to communicate with your local community online instantly via Telegram and through through other social media channels, it's an opportunity for you to show that your mosque is still open for business, that people can still connect with the mosque and get the help and the support that they need. And organizing things. So in the guide, we have a whole section on how you can organize quarantine and self-isolation online sessions so that the most vulnerable in your community can still engage with you, can still see a friendly face, can still do these, can still feel like they're part of the community. Number 3, the guide goes into a lot of detail about online fundraising, but in summary, for the continuity of mosques, we think it's critically important for you to have in place a direct debit strategy where every single person in your local community can be supporting you in a small but regular way. As per the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who said that the best of deeds are those that are done regularly, done consistently, even if they are small. And so that's what we will help you to set up and encourage you to go out to your local community. And of course, secondly, is creating an online crowdfunding strategy for your community. And mashallah, there's lots of initiatives and lots of platforms out there. In the guide, we recommend a few of them, including LaunchGood, who mashallah, if you are on MCB's channels, you'll see they've just launched a a campaign to help you as well. So do check that out. And finally, and I would say most importantly, is education. Now, the question that I got about, what can my imam do? He's at home, etc. We have put together as a suggestion for you, a detailed step-by-step, day-by-day guide on how you can engage and nurture and educate your local community. There are topic suggestions in there. There is physical activity suggestions in there. Things for your online classes, Q&A sessions, everything that you might need. We've created a plan for you with different themes for each day that goes all the way until the end of May, I believe, inshallah. So if your predicament is that I don't know what to talk about, alhamdulillah, in the guide, there's so many resources for you. Just finally, as an organization, our aim is to empower and support mosques to provide a service that engages and nurtures young people in their community. And subhanAllah, through this pandemic, we've been able to pivot, alhamdulillah, and focus on specifically empowering mosques to get online and get digital during this lockdown, inshallah. So for those who are looking for extra rewards, the link is on the screen. Please support us with a donation of £10 a month, inshallah. But these are your calls to action. Number one, and I'm going to put all of these in the Q&A box, in the chat box for you now. Number one, get your free copy. Number two, join the global network so you can connect with other imams and organizations. Number three, very important, we actually have the facility to support you one-on-one. I will assign a personal coach to you to help you implement the plan. And we have our own, number four, weekly training sessions, absolutely for free. The next one is tonight, entitled, Are You Ready for a Digital Ramadan? So, Jazakallah khair for your time. I know that was a lot of information, and I can see the Q&A box is buzzing. So, Jazakallah khair, and I'll pass it back to Zainab to facilitate any questions, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Ayub, and thank you for all of that information. There are loads of questions, so I'll just run through those with you. Could you reiterate the time of the session tonight and how one joins?
Yep, so fantastic question, Jazakallah khair. To join the session tonight, you first have to join the global network. So if you go to t.me/digital mosque, you'll be part of the group, and then we'll post the link there. There is, alhamdulillah, the time I believe was 7 to 8 p.m, but that may move because, mashallah, all of the mosques in the project are doing so many activities today. They've asked perhaps for the time to be shifted to accommodate the work that they're doing. So yeah, the best way to know is join the group, inshallah.
And how can mosques sign up to be part of this project?
Fantastic question. So number one, the first place to start is to download their copy. So go to bit.ly/digital mosque, digital mosque guide, as you can see on the screen in front of you, inshallah.
And you briefly mentioned the use of Telegram over WhatsApp. Is that something that your guide explains in more detail? Yes,
absolutely. So WhatsApp for amongst friends or people that you know, colleagues, etc., where you're a small group of people, it's a great resource. But what we're talking about here is creating a channel of communication for your whole community. That's not something that can be effectively facilitated by WhatsApp, not least because they have a limitation in group size, but also from a very real security perspective. WhatsApp exposes people's telephone numbers, and that's so if you're creating a group with 1,000 people or 5,000 people in your local community, that's not a risk that you'd want to take. But there's more information in the guide, inshallah.
And I have one last question for you. What's the best way to sell this to imams and masjid committees and show them why this is so important, particularly this Ramadan and particularly in light of the COVID pandemic?
That is a fantastic question. What I would say is download so we've had a number of larger organizations, larger bodies like the MCB who have approached us, and they're trying to facilitate it for their kind of partner mosques as well. The first thing is to explain to them why it's important that we connect. You know, the people physically can't get to the mosque, so we as community leaders, as mosque leaders, have an obligation to bring the resources and facilities of the mosque to them. But more than that, more than giving them just a copy of the guide, get in touch with myself and the team through the group. And I've done a number of these kind of one-to-one sessions with mosque management or mosque committees, and I'd be more than happy to assist you in selling this to them, the importance of it, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Ayub. We've had a number of questions come in regarding Taraweeh, so I'm going to briefly bring on Qari Ishaq very quickly and ask him a few questions that some of you have asked in the chat box. Qari Ishaq, are you able to point us in the direction of any free Quran learning webinars or interactive?
Yes, so I have just posted on the comments section a link, so I'll do it again actually. This is actually a webinar we ran. It's on YouTube, and if you type in UK Huffadh on YouTube, our webinars are actually uploaded on there. So there's webinars on how to teach Quran through Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Skype, etc. And again, I've put our contact details on there as well. So if anyone does have any further queries, you're more than happy to contact me. But yeah, there are some useful tips on there on how to teach Quran through webinars, and we also have plenty of resources available as well. So if you do contact us, the contact details I have put in the comments as well. So inshallah, that should be fine.
Thank you so much. And the second question was, during Ramadan, should we be prioritizing praying Taraweeh or making up missed Salah from previous years?
I think personally, this is more of a personal choice, but what I can give, what we have been advising is a lot of people have been asking. I think Ramadan, it needs to be understood that Ramadan is not obviously something that is compulsory, as in like it's more important to pray 5 times Salah than Taraweeh, in that sense that it's been given more preference to do the 5 daily prayers. However, having said that, Ramadan is also Taraweeh is also an opportunity to connect with the Quran. Now, you don't have to recite the whole Quran from beginning to end, but I think at the same time, in terms of prioritizing your missed Salah, I think if you have a schedule where you can possibly do both, so balance both, where you maybe do the Taraweeh. What I recommend my students when I teach as well, when people ask me, a very clever plan is to always just pray an extra 4 rakats, for example, of Fard or Dhuhr, if you've missed that, at the end of each Salah. So essentially, you're praying the Salah and you're adding on one extra one from the one you missed. If you make a routine every day, then you can build up. You're not expected to obviously read all the missed Salah in the whole of Ramadan from 1 year. It's too long. So I think if you make a routine to maybe cover one extra Salah after every fard one, at the same time, I would say make a balance. Don't neglect the Taraweeh, because that is essentially the heart of Ramadan in the sense of connecting with the Quran, but try to make a balance between both, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Qari Ishaq. Those were all the questions I had for you. And I would just like to reiterate that when we discuss praying Taraweeh, we mean praying this in congregation with those in your household. It is vitally important to continue to adhere to UK government guidance on social distancing, which means that Taraweeh this year will be prayed, or should be prayed, within your households with the people that you live with, and not in masjids and not with other people. If I could now introduce Brother Ashfaq Chowdhury from the Association of Muslim Schools, who is joined also by Waqar Malik and Tom Thacker to speak to us about Muslim schooling and homeschooling, and particularly in Ramadan.
I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes, great.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I believe I'm also joined by a friend and also a brother who's been sponsoring some of our activities, Brother Rizwan. He's somewhere within the audience from the Euro Quality Foundation. So Jazakallah to Brother Rizwan as well. So today what I'm going to take you through is a quick stop tour of what is available for home learning. I understand it can really be overwhelming with so much out there at the moment that people might actually struggle to understand what they should do. But what we want to paint a picture of where we are at the moment. With Muslim schools, the organization that we represent, we have we have a situation at the moment that a large portion of our schools are actually having to furlough their staff, which does mean that our students are in a similar situation to other homeschooling, where the parents are having to take bulk of the responsibility of teaching their children. So what we're going to do today is that we're going to point towards some high quality resources, including something that has come up as early as yesterday that you can use for home educating your children, and also what the Association of Muslim Schools is doing in terms of creating a good homeschooling infrastructure while, of course, the schools are shut. And as I said, many of the schools were furloughed their staff. We're also concerned about the Islamic studies and the Quran and the Hifz class, the Islamic studies and the Islamic studies that our schools used to do. I understand some of our partners, alhamdulillah, like An-Nasiha Foundation and UK Huffadh and people are doing quite a bit, but we are also looking at creating partnerships with them for the sake of our students. There are basically 4 different products that I'm going to talk about today. First of all is going to be Century Education, who's going to be talking about how AI-based learning can be incorporated to make sure that the children have an engaging and interactive learning platform. We're all aware of other products, the likes of Twinkle, who came very early on in the market. But the problem is, of course, the interactivity of it. There is some other platforms similar to that, but we have felt that Century has got a lot more offer. And also as a partnership with the association, it has opened itself up for the entire period of COVID, rather than sort of extending at a time or just offering for a month. It is going to offer the AI-based learning for homework, for the English, Maths and Science for the entire period of COVID, however long the school closures are. Also joining me today will be Brother Waqar from the Chiltern Learning Trust, who's going to be talking about the new e-learning platform that the Association of Muslim Schools is launching, alongside the Chiltern Learning Trust, one of the most successful academy chains in the country now, having turned around multiple schools. Their portfolio now extends beyond 10 state-funded schools in Luton and surrounding areas. I'm going to talk about the BBC, which many of you would have heard already, bite size, and I'm pleased to say that some of our Muslim state-funded schools, their teachers are now going to be delivering lessons via BBC bite size, and also talk about the new government initiative, which is very, very recent, kicking off tomorrow, called the National Academy. And finally, point you towards resources to teach online that the Department for Education has compiled together. So moving on from there, on BBC Bite Size, you will see here's a screenshot. So we've got, for example, the example of primary at the top and secondary at the bottom. So every single day, they have at least two recorded lessons. So these are pre-recorded lessons with some resources that they're going to offer for those subjects. For example, on a Monday, if your child is in a primary, they can do maths and history. Tuesday, they could do English and geography. Similarly, for secondary, they could do 3 subjects. So they could do maths, English, and history. And on a Tuesday, they could do English, biology, and geography. These are all pre-recorded sessions by outstanding teachers, including, alhamdulillah, Muslim school teachers. So we can see our teachers are of very high quality that even BBC is now hiring them for their services. The next important initiative, and please do note this website, because if you Google up, you might not find it. And you will see it's not .co.uk, not .org, not .com, but it's .academy. This is where most likely many families will hear this in the news, but will not find it. It's purely because it's .academy. So it is the national and then .academy. So what is this? This is basically a weekly lesson schedule for all year groups, starting from all years of primary and all years of secondary. And this will provide generic lessons. The likes of, I've taken up this upcoming week schedule. For example, for year 7 English, you've got Introduction to Greek Myths. You've got about Pandora's Box. Algebra. In maths, you've got algebra. In biology, you're going to learn about ecology. In chemistry, you're going to learn about chemical reactions. These are pretty generic lessons, again, pre-recorded and with accompanying resources that the young people can use. So once more, the website, the national.academy. This is the Department for Education's official or semi-official website now to offer teaching to young people who are at home, but pre-recorded lessons and not necessarily customized lessons, so they're quite broad. Going back to the Department for Education itself, if you go to COVID-19 list of online education resources, on the left-hand side, you'll find a list of subjects, for example, English, primary, secondary, math, primary, secondary, and various other subjects. And each of those will offer you some online resources that you can use to teach your children at home. Now, I want to hand over to my colleague from Century, and I can't enough how good this is going to be between now COVID and beyond COVID, and the association is partnering up with them to offer this at this moment in time entirely free for all Muslim schools and all members of the Muslim community.
Hi, good morning. I hope you can all hear me all nice and clearly. So my name's Tom. I'm the head of schools at Century. Ashley, thank you for the introduction. So what you're seeing here is a screenshot of the platform. So we are an AI-powered learning platform for English, for maths, and for science from year 3 all the way up to year 11. And as Ashley was saying, it's all about having interactive resources. So this is available to schools. We've had lots of schools from the Muslim school groups already coming on board. It's also available directly to children and their parents. We cover year 3 up to year 11 for English, maths, and science. Each student has their own recommended path where it's finding their gaps in their knowledge. So kind of the examples you saw there, some brilliant work coming from the BBC and the National Academy, is the same for each child. And that's what they're having to do with the technology they've got access to. What we're offering here, we have over 5,000 lessons, which have video content, self-marking quizzes, but the platform is going to recommend to the child, based on their age, and using some diagnostic assessments, what they should be studying. And Ashley, can you then go to the next slide? So here you can see some examples of the content. We have slides, we have videos, and we have interactive self-marking quizzes. So please, all I'm asking is that you share this with any schools that you know. They can go on our website, as you can see the details there. They can fill in the box and we'll get in contact. If you are a parent, you can go on our website, you can press a button, and you can automatically create an account for your children. If they're aged between year 3 to year 11, they can get straight on and they can study English, maths, and science. We're running webinars every week for schools and every week for parents to understand more. Again, all of that on our website. If any direct questions, you can email us at info@century.tech.
Thank you, Tom. And I want to bring in now Brother Waqar Malik, our partner for e-learning. This is going to be customized e-learning. This is not going to be a generic one, which the Association of Muslim Schools is pleased to say we're going to open up to the entire Muslim community of the UK, funded by our partners, the Eurogroup. Can I get Brother Waqar Malik to now come in, please?
Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and Jazakallah for joining us today. So what I want to discuss is this e-learning platform that in partnership with AMS we have put together. This online platform, it will take place via Google Classrooms, and it will need a simple Gmail login. Now, once your child has created the Gmail account, they will be given a code. So as you can see here, it says class code VIB. Your child will be given a similar code depending upon the year group. So if your child is in year 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 3, 4, 5, 6, they'll be given a specific code for their specific year group. Now, once they enter their classroom, in that one classroom, they will find lessons every single week for all the key subjects. So English, maths, science, history, geography, and so on. Each subject area will be managed by a subject specialist. So I will be taking care of English. I have people taking care of maths and science and so on. On a weekly basis, they will upload loads of lessons and resources. This could take place via PowerPoint, worksheets, videos, audios. There's a plethora of resources that will be uploaded on a weekly schedule. Rather than putting everything in one go, on a weekly basis, your child will have some kind of understanding of how many hours to dedicate to each subject every given week. Now, if they look in that area, they will also have the ability to submit their work for the teacher to have a look at. So all the work that they do can be done by Google Docs. If it's a child, whether it's your students, however you want to give it to them, they can do it via Google Docs, and they can share this file with the teacher who is managing the area for quick and easy feedback. This, inshallah, should be launching by next week, so the end of April, and then it will run every single week with fresh resources, lessons, and it's almost trying to mimic the school experience as much as possible. So, for example, there will be 4 hours worth of English, because approximately that's the amount of hours of English a student would be having in school. And what is really important is I'm almost aiming for the students not to skip a beat. So the same experience they were getting in schools. So if your child is in year 10, then they are preparing for their GCSEs next year. So the lessons are very focused on that particular year group. So if they're doing Macbeth or Romeo and Juliet, then you will find lessons and resources tailored for that particular age group. And that will be applied from year 3 up until year 11. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. I'll hand it now back over to Ashfaq, and Jazakallah khair for listening.
How do you sign up? Please note those 2 email addresses. You can either email Brother Waqar, who is going to be managing this. And I'm also going to add that they're going to use specialist leaders of education. So not going to be average teachers. They're going to be top-notch teachers within the entire academy chain. They will choose the best teachers to deliver those subjects. You've got those 2 email addresses, Brother Waqar's or mine. If you contact us, either a Muslim school or a Muslim parent, we are happy to open this up to everybody. And Jazakallah khair, especially to our sponsor, Brother Rizwan, I think is somewhere there from the Eurogroup. Finally, we also have a expert training for Muslim teachers as well as the Muslim leaders, which encompasses all sorts, starting from crisis management to various aspects of teaching and learning. We've also partnered up with Chiltern. There's more than 35 sessions. The likes of Dame Alison Peacock, chair of the Chartered Institute of Teaching, to Sir David Carter, to Brother Asif. Many of you might know him. He is one of the most diverse sort of Muslim consultants at the moment. These sessions are entirely free, and it's available for the entire community to benefit from. Jazakallah khair. I finish here, and I wait to take any questions from you.
Thank you so much. And I believe there have been some questions submitted in the chat facilities that Tom has very kindly responded to. And I know that we've had a lot of information today, and this will all be this call is being recorded and will be uploaded onto YouTube, and all the slides and a recording of this call will be available on the MCB's website from this evening, and you can access this all at www.mcb.org.uk/coronavirus. We'll now have a session by Aalima Masuma Jaffer, who will speak to us about developing the right mindset for Ramadan.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد والعطرة الطيبين الطاهرين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So I want to just look at this My Ramadan and the mindset that we should going into this My Ramadan. In any situation that we find ourselves in, there's always negatives in that situation and positives. And if we tend to look at the negatives, then what will happen is we will just literally have our anxiety levels rise, our stress levels rise, and we'll be feeling very sorry for ourselves. Whereas if we look at the positives, what will happen is it will actually push us towards growth, because we will realize that we're coming out of our comfort zone, and it will actually help us to grow. Now, when we look at the COVID-19 situation, the amazing thing is that we have a lot more time on our hands than we've ever had before. Whether you're working from home or you're not working at all, you're in furlough, there's a lot more time. And most of the time, whenever we're thinking about getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the reason usually given is that we don't have enough time. God's given us that time. So was it an excuse, or was it actually a legitimate problem, and now God's given us a solution to that problem. And as I said, growth happens outside of our comfort zone, which we are very much outside of our comfort zone at the moment. The other thing about the COVID-19 situation is, the positive is that there's been a lot of things that have been taken away from us. And I don't think as human beings, we tend to appreciate things till they're taken away. So, you know, the fact that we're no longer able to sort of mingle freely, you know, spend time with our extended families, with our community, within our mosques. I think all of us are appreciating what we had, and inshallah, when we get it back, we will make the most use of it, totally. The other thing that I think is a huge reflection point is that it is a worldwide pandemic. It's affecting everyone. I don't think I can ever remember a time where something affected every single country in the world, and you know, you could actually empathize with other people, and it makes you actually think about a little bit about how it would be when the awaited Imam you know, comes, because again, he's coming for the whole of mankind, not just Muslims. So I spend a lot of time going to spiritual retreats, and the reason why spiritual retreats work is that you know, you're taken out of your rat race of life, you're given time to reflect, the concentration is on the soul rather than the body, you know, you're trying to connect to Allah, and also, you know, you have a teacher there who's helping you, guiding you, getting you to focus correctly. Now look at the COVID-19 situation, and I'm trying to show you how much positive there is in the COVID-19 situation. I'm not denying there are a lot of negatives, but let's concentrate on the positives. Again, we're taken out of our rat race of life. We've been given time to self-reflect, connect with our immediate family and our extended family with all the, you know, Viber and the internet and everything that we have. The concentration is on the soul, especially in this blessed month that you know, we're awaiting. The connection to Allah, the teacher is the best of teachers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there for us. You know, we're coming up to an amazing, blessed time. Shaitan is locked up. We're with our close family members. The beauty about this spiritual upliftment is that I'm not doing it on my own. I haven't gone to retreat on my own. I'm actually doing it with my family, so I can continue afterwards, because we'll all be helping each other. And it's free. I don't have to pay hundreds of pounds to actually have this spiritual upliftment. So very, very quickly, I'm just going to have a look at a few verses from the Holy Quran to try to figure out what it is that we're supposed to get out of my Ramadan and how to get it. Excuse me. So in Surah Baqarah in verse 183, when Allah introduces the fasting, before he introduces my Ramadan, he actually talks about the fasting, because he knows that the minute he says my Ramadan, we're going to start thinking about fasting. So he says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. Okay, and this is it's beautiful. I was listening to my teacher when he was mentioning this verse, and he put it really beautifully. He says, you know, whenever something is introduced to us that we are worried and anxious about, there's a way to introduce it. So if you look at the way a nurse would introduce an injection to a child, and again, Allah knows our psyche so well. So what the nurse first does is she will make the child feel like there's something special. You know, like, you're such a brave boy, you're such a good boy, you know, I know you can handle this sort of thing. And Allah starts the same way. Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu. Oh, you who believe, you're one of the believers, you know, you're up there, don't stress. And then the nurse will introduce the actual injection. And again, Allah introduces the fasting. Kutiba alaykum as-siyam. Fasting has been prescribed for you. And the minute the injection is introduced, you know, the child starts panicking. Okay, and again, when we think about the fasting, we start panicking. It's like, how's it going to be? What's it going to be like? Especially in this COVID situation, the long fast on our own. You know, the last few hours, we're not going to be at mosque to sort of keep our minds away from it and everything. So Allah tells us. So the nurse would actually turn around and say to the child, don't stress, don't worry. Look at all the people who've had it before you. Look at your brothers, look at your sisters. I've given them the injections and they're fine. They're totally okay. So again, kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum, as it was prescribed for those before you. And they were fine. They actually got something out of it. And then finally, the nurse will tell the child why he has to go through this hardship, so that he's vaccinated, so that he can go on holiday and not get ill. Again, Allah tells us the purpose behind the fasting, the purpose behind the hardship that we feel we're going to feel. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may get taqwa. Now, in any situation that we're, put into, in order to motivate us towards fulfilling the purpose behind that action, we need to actually want and believe the benefits of gaining the purpose behind the action is greater than the effort that we put into fulfilling that action. So the purpose behind the fasting is taqwa. So we need to truly, truly believe that the benefit of the taqwa is much, much greater, in acquiring the taqwa is much greater than the hardship that I will have to put myself in with the fasting. So let's look at taqwa. Remember, taqwa has been mentioned over 200 times in the Holy Quran. So there are lots and lots of benefits to it. All I'm going to do is look at Surah Talaq, and because it's been mentioned 3 times in here, and this is only 3 times that I'm looking at it, and it's been mentioned one after the other with a verse in between the first and the second one. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts off with saying in verse number 2 in Surah Talaq, وَمَن يَتَقِ اللَّهَ. Okay, so, and whoever has taqwa of Allah, يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. He will make for him an outlet. What are we looking for in this COVID situation? We're looking for an outlet. Allah's given us the solution here. If we have taqwa, He is the one who will make for us an outlet. And then verse 3 talks about having this tawakkulullah, this concept of trusting Allah. And He says, if we trust Him, He will be sufficient for us. And then again in verse 4, He gives another benefit of having taqwa. Yaj'allahu man amrihi yusra. He will make easy for him his affair. Again, we want things to be easy. As human beings, we don't like difficulty. If we have taqwa, it will be easy. The fasting will be easy. The lockdown will be easy. The emotional and the financial and all the things that we're worried about, Allah will make it easy for us if we have taqwa in Him. Verse number 5. يُكَفِّرُ عَنْهُ سَيِّئَاتِهِ وَيُعْظِمْ لَهُ أَجْرًا. He will remove from him his evil and give him a big reward. So again, the holy month of Ramadan is a month of forgiveness, and Allah says if you have taqwa, He will actually remove the evil that we have within us, any sins that we've committed, and not only will He remove it, but He'll give us a big reward. And when He talks about a big reward, it's not necessarily just in the hereafter, it is also in this world. So finally, I've talked a lot, I've given a lot of information, so let's try to make it practical. How can we actually, what practical steps can we take away? Here I want to look at a hadith from Ali bin Musa al-Ridha, from the progeny of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, where he mentions 3 things that we should actually be looking at. He says that in my Ramadan, you should ask for forgiveness. You should not allow the month of Ramadan to come in while someone's rights are on you, and you shouldn't enter my Ramadan while you have hatred towards another mu'min. Look at how we're going to do this. So if I want to ask for forgiveness, I need to be able to self-reflect. I need to have that introspection. I need to think about specifically what am I asking for forgiveness for. And I think a lot of us find it very, very difficult to self-reflect. So I'm doing a whole month series of talks in the month of my Ramadan, every day talking about a different aspect of self-reflecting and how we can do this. The concept of haqq nas is really, really important. So he says, make sure that we ensure that everyone's rights have been taken care of. And again, sila ram and community. Do not enter my Ramadan with hatred towards another mu'min. I think being in lockdown, not having the family, not having the community, it's made me appreciate my community so very much. So that, honestly, I'm phoning people who I haven't talked to for months and for years, and I think everyone's doing the same thing. I think it's very, very important to ensure practically that we have an individual program for ourselves with the Holy Quran, as well as the family program with the Holy Quran. And we need to learn from my Ramadan, as well as learn from lockdown, in order to take it further forward, not just for this time. And we can only do all of this if we're organized and have some sort of timetable. And again, the timetable will depend on us once we've self-reflected on what we require and what we need and how we work best. Inshallah. Thank you very much for your time. We pray that Allah gives us the tawfiq to be able to make the most out of this my Ramadan and get the taqwa that is available. Thank you, Zainab.
Thank you so much. I know that was exactly kind of what we all needed to hear to prepare for Ramadan starting in the next few days. I believe we just have one question for you that came in earlier. as people will be praying in their homes and praying in congregation, which we're encouraging, can a son lead prayers if only his mother is present alongside him?
As long as he is Balik, then yes, he can lead the prayers, and she would, depending again on which school you follow, whether she would be totally behind him or whether she would be a little bit on the right and to the side of him if she's the only one who's following. But yes, he can lead as long as he's Balik.
Thank you so much. And I believe those were all the questions we had today. I'd just like to call on Hassan Judy, Deputy Secretary General of the MCB, to close.
Thank you, Zainab, and thank you to all our esteemed speakers today for concise, but very packed and very informative presentations. I hope you found them useful. Thank you to all our guests who have joined today and who will be listening to recordings once this is uploaded later in the week. Later today. As mentioned, this session has been recorded and it will be available on YouTube and shared on MCB's social media channels. And that also includes WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, thanks to the advice from Islamic Network, and also an email list. If you aren't already on one of these update groups, then you can join them. Just visit mcb.org.uk/coronavirus, and there are links to join any of these update groups. Inshallah, we'll be looking to continue these calls on Sundays throughout the month of Ramadan as well. And we'll be announcing more information on this shortly. So please keep in touch with the MCB via social media and the various update groups that I've just mentioned as well. From early next week, MCB will also be publishing some guidance on Ramadan using hashtag Ramadan at home. Just reiterating what Zainab said, I'm sure most of us in this room, I'm preaching to the converted in terms of taking heed of the real importance of staying at home, not going to the masjid, not congregating at our friends or families in their homes for maybe iftar or Taraweeh or others. But of course, there may be others in our communities who perhaps may not be taking it so seriously, and it's really, really important that we reiterate that within our own communities and beyond, and to make sure that we are all supporting efforts to fight against this coronavirus and help support the NHS and save lives. And so what we're going to be launching from early next week is a Ramadan at Home guide with 3 key messages. Ramadan at home, share by phone, save lives. Very simple. Ramadan at home, share by phone, save lives. And of course, we've heard many ways that we can make the most of that from the speakers today. Also launching early next week, although some of you may have seen or may be involved in the run-up to it, there will be a mini campaign launched next week called Support Our Masjids, or sorry, Support Our Mosques. So as we know, many of our masjids are facing challenging financial circumstances, and we're trying to support our mosques, especially those who may not be used to fundraising online, to get up to speed with fundraising online with some tools and tips and one-to-one advice via partners at LaunchGood. So do look out for that early next week as well. And the final thing to say, just reflecting on social media seems to be, I'm seeing more and more videos and images of people saying, oh, look at how long my haircut is. My hair is, I haven't had a haircut in ages. A kind of coronavirus hairdo, as they call it. And I was just reminded, the last time that I visited the barber shop, many eons ago, it seems, there was an interesting phrase on the wall that said, if you don't like your haircut, tell us. But if you did like your haircut, tell other people. And so I'm going to apply that to these briefings as well. If you don't like these briefings or anything about it that you didn't like or think they can be improved, please do tell us. The MCB is always open to feedback, to get in touch via one of the social media channels or email us. And if you did like these community briefings, then please tell others, spread the word, and let others, inshallah, benefit from that. So on that note, I will end. Thank you all for joining once again. Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan greetings to all of you listening and beyond, to your families and communities. We wish you the best, and we look forward to catching up with you again next Sunday and beyond, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, Hassan, and thank you once again to all of you for joining us this morning, and for all of our panelists for speaking to us and providing us with so much useful and important information. As Hassan mentioned, all of our resources are available on our website, which is www.mcb.org.uk/coronavirus. And we also have a number of resources for Ramadan, which are available at mcb.org.uk/Ramadan. If there are any further questions or anything the MCB can help with, please do contact us either on social media or via email at covid@mcb.org.uk. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.